Albert had always been the kind of person who fed strays. Back on Earth, it was cats and dogs. On Colony Station Meridian 7, apparently, it was aliens. He set the thermal container down outside his habitat module's door, just as he had done for the past 3 nights. Inside, rice, synthesized chicken with actual Earth spices he'd bartered 2 months of coffee rations for, and a small cake made from protein paste that he'd somehow coaxed into tasting almost sweet. The motion sensors would alert him when someone or something approached. "You're doing it again." His sister's voice crackled through the comm unit on his wrist. Elsa was 2 sectors away, working the night shift at the atmospheric processing plant, but she always seemed to know what he was up to. "I'm conducting a diplomatic mission," Albert replied, settling into his chair by the window. "You're feeding an unknown entity that could be dangerous, toxic, or worse, a hallucination brought on by deep space radiation. The security footage shows her clearly. Els, she's real." A pause. Albert smiled. 3 nights ago, he'd glimpsed her for the first time. Tall, impossibly slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and pale blue depending on the light. Her eyes were large and luminous, and she moved with a grace that made human motion look clumsy by comparison. She'd appeared at his door precisely at 22 o'clock station time, taken the food he'd left, and vanished into the maintenance tunnels that honeycombed the station's lower levels. The motion sensor pinged, 5 minutes. She was always punctual, through the reinforced window. Albert watched as she emerged from the shadows. Tonight, she wore something that might have been clothing or might have been part of her skin, a flowing material that caught the station's artificial light and scattered it into impossible colors. She approached the container cautiously, as she had before, her movements bird-like and alert. But tonight was different. Instead of taking the food and leaving, she looked directly at the window. At him, Albert's breath caught. Her eyes were extraordinary, up-close galaxies of silver and violet spinning in depths that human eyes simply didn't have. She raised one long-fingered hand and placed it against the door panel. His wrist calm buzzed. "Albert, I'm seeing your biometrics spike. What's happening?" He ignored Elsa and moved to the door. His hand hovered over the control panel. Station protocol was clear. No unauthorized contact with unknown species without proper quarantine and diplomatic channels. Violation meant immediate deportation back to Earth. The alien woman tilted her head. "Waiting." "Screw it," Albert muttered, and opened the door. She didn't enter. Instead, she made a sound crystalline, musical. Nothing like human speech, but somehow conveying meaning. She gestured to the food, then to herself, then to him. Her expression, alien as it was, seemed unmistakably grateful. "You're welcome," Albert said softly. She reached into a fold of her garment and produced something that glowed with a soft, pulsing light. It looked organic, like a luminescent seed pod. She held it out to him. "Albert, don't touch anything." Elsa's voice was sharp in his ear. "I'm pulling up station security. Els, wait." Albert accepted the object. It was warm and hummed with a vibration he could feel in his bones. The moment his skin made contact, images flooded his mind. He saw a ship massive, damaged, limping through space. He saw pods ejecting, scattering like dandelion seeds across the void. He saw this woman, Elsa. No, not Elsa. But that's what he'd think of her as, now hiding in the maintenance tunnels, injured, hungry, alone. He saw her people, elegant, ancient, fleeing from something that burned through space itself. And he saw what she was offering: coordinates, a meeting place, an invitation. When the vision faded, Albert found himself on his knees, the alien woman kneeling beside him with one hand on his shoulder, steadying him. She made another sound, softer this time, questioning. "I'm okay," he managed. "I understand." She stood, taking the food container with a grace that suggested the act was ceremonial, not desperate. Before she left, she touched his forehead with 2 fingers. Warmth spread through him, and suddenly he knew. She had been testing him, humanity, seeing if they were the kind of species that would feed strangers, that would extend kindness without demanding anything in return. Apparently, they had passed. "Station security is en route to your location," Elsa said, her voice tight. "They detected the door breach." "Albert, what did you do?" The alien woman disappeared into the tunnels, moving impossibly fast. Albert looked down at the glowing seed in his hand. It was already beginning to dissolve, its light seeping into his skin. And with it came knowledge, star charts, technologies, the location where her people would wait for human ambassadors to arrive, an invitation to the greatest alliance humanity would ever know. All because he'd left food at a door. I made first contact, Albert said, watching as the last of the light faded. And Els, you're not going to believe what happens next. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Security was close. But Albert wasn't afraid. He had evidence, he had knowledge, and most importantly, he had proven something that would echo across the galaxy. Humans didn't help others because it benefited them. They helped because it was right. The HFY principle, he thought with a smile. Humanity, F******, yeah. When Elsa burst through the door 3 minutes later, having abandoned her shift and sprinted through to sectors, she found her brother sitting calmly at his table, hands folded, wearing an expression of absolute serenity. "You're insane," she said, pulling him into a fierce hug. "Probably," Albert agreed. "But I think I just changed everything." Through the window, in the depths of the maintenance tunnel, a shimmer of silver-blue light pulsed once in farewell, then vanished into the dark. Above the station, unknown to its inhabitants, a damaged ship adjusted its course, setting coordinates for a rendezvous that would reshape the future of 2 species. All because one human had remembered something simple. When someone is hungry, you feed them. It doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. That's what humans do. That's who we are.